I fell asleep alone in a guest chamber built for humans, too small for royalty, too quiet for a palace. The ceiling lights dimmed like a slow sunset, and I remember thinking how strange it was that the fate of two species could pause in a room like this. When I woke up, my arm was heavy. At first, I thought gravity had shifted. Then I felt warm breath, steady, calm, against my chest. I froze. Draped across me, wrapped in the simple cloak of night, was the alien queen herself. She slept like someone who hadn't rested in years. The Queen of Varelia was feared across systems. Her words could move fleets. Her silence could end wars. Yet here she was, trusting enough to sleep, really sleep, without guards, without ceremony, with a human she barely knew. I didn't move. Her skin glowed faintly, pulsing with the rhythm of her heart. One of her hands rested on my shoulder, not tight, not possessive, just there, like it belonged. In that moment, she wasn't a ruler. She was someone exhausted by responsibility. When her eyes finally opened, she didn't pull away. "You stayed," she said softly, her voice still rough with sleep. "I didn't want to wake you," I replied. A long pause followed. Then something changed in her expression, relief, maybe. Or understanding. "My people believe strength comes from standing alone," she said. "But your kind survives by standing together." She rose slowly, regal once more, the weight of a galaxy settling back onto her shoulders. At the door, she stopped. "Last night," she said, "you showed me another way to rule." I was alone again when she left. But the universe felt different, because for one quiet night, humanity wasn't feared or underestimated. It was trusted. The palace felt colder after she left. Not in temperature, Varelian climate systems were flawless, but in presence. The room seemed too quiet, as if it remembered who had been there and was disappointed she was gone. By the time I stepped into the main corridor, the illusion of the night was already cracking. Guards stood straighter. Advisors whispered faster. News traveled faster than light in a royal palace. The alien queen had broken tradition. And everyone knew it. I was summoned before the High Council within the hour. 12 figures encircled a floating dais, their eyes sharp, curious, wary. To them, I wasn't a guest anymore. I was an anomaly. "You shared the queen's private rest," one elder said, not accusing, measuring. "I shared her silence," I replied. "That's all." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Before they could press further, the doors opened. The queen entered, not in ceremonial armor, but in simple regalia. Power followed her like gravity. The room bowed instinctively. "He speaks truth," she said. "And more than you realize." She looked at me, not as a ruler looking down at a subject, but as someone remembering a moment of peace. "Last night," she continued, "I slept without dreaming of war. That has not happened since my coronation." The council stiffened. Vulnerability from the queen was unheard of. "Our people fear humans," an advisor warned. "They are unpredictable." "Yes," the queen replied calmly. "They are. And so is the future." She turned to me. "You did not ask for favor. You did not demand meaning. You simply stayed." Her voice softened, just slightly. "That is why humanity will not be erased from our history, but written into it." I was dismissed without ceremony. No guards followed me. No chains awaited me. As I walked back into the endless corridors, I realized something profound. I had come to this world as an observer. I had woken up as a variable. And the universe doesn't ignore variables for long. I expected isolation after that. Instead, I found attention. Doors opened before I reached them. Servants who once avoided my eyes now studied me with quiet curiosity. Some bowed, not deeply, not formally, but enough to acknowledge that something had changed. I didn't feel powerful. I felt exposed. That evening, I was called again, not to the council chamber, but to the upper observatory. No guards. No witnesses. Just stars stretched across transparent crystal, galaxies rotating like slow thoughts. The Queen stood there alone. I was warned about you today, she said without turning. By who? I asked. Everyone, she answered calmly. She faced me then. Not with suspicion. With honesty. They fear you influence me, she continued. That you weaken my resolve. And do I? I asked. She considered the question longer than any ruler should. No, she said. You remind me why resolve exists. She gestured toward the stars. I was raised to believe a queen must never lean. Never rest. Never need. Strength meant distance. Her voice lowered. But last night, when I slept, I realized something frightening. What? That I am still a person. The admission hung between us, fragile and dangerous. My people will test you, she said. Not because you are human, but because you are close to me. I didn't ask to be, I replied. A faint smile touched her lips. Neither did I. She stepped closer, not touching, but near enough that I could feel the warmth she carried, like a living sun held carefully in control. You may leave, she said. Or you may stay and endure what comes. I thought of Earth. Of distance. Of being small and unnoticed. Then I looked at her, at a ruler carrying the weight of worlds, daring to trust something unfamiliar. I'll stay, I said. The stars outside kept turning. Empires rose and fell in their light. And somewhere between them, a human chose not comfort, but consequence. The test didn't come loudly. It arrived in smiles that lasted half a second too long. In invitations that were polite, but mandatory. In questions that sounded harmless and carried sharp edges underneath. I was placed among diplomats, scholars, and military envoys, never alone, never fully included. They watched how I spoke, when I hesitated, whether I tried to impress. Some expected arrogance. Others expected fear. I gave them neither. During one assembly, a general finally spoke what the room had been circling. Humans survive by conflict, he said. Your history proves it. Why should we trust one so close to our queen? Before I could answer, the queen raised a hand. No, she said. Let him. I took a breath. You're right, I said evenly. Humans fight. We fail. We break things we don't understand. Murmurs spread, satisfied ones. But, I continued, we also sit with people who scare us. We stay when leaving would be easier. We don't worship perfection, we survive by adapting. Silence followed. Not agreement. Consideration. After the assembly, the queen walked beside me through a long, open corridor. No guards. Just distance and echo. You spoke without defending yourself, she said. That unsettled them. I wasn't trying to win, I replied. Just to be honest. She nodded slowly. That is rarer than loyalty. At the balcony overlooking the capital, she stopped. They will force a decision soon, she said. About you. About us. Exile? I asked. Or elevation, she answered. I looked out at the alien city, endless lights, countless lives. And what do you want? For the first time since I met her, she didn't answer immediately. I want a future where strength doesn't mean standing alone, she said quietly. Even if it costs me power. That night, I understood the truth. I wasn't being tested to see if I belonged in her world. I was being tested to see if her world was ready to change. And change, I was learning, never asks politely. The decision came sooner than expected. An emergency convocation was declared, full court, full broadcast, every system watching. That alone told me this wasn't about protocol anymore. It was about direction. The Queen stood at the center of the chamber, elevated above the council ring. I was placed below, not beside her, not hidden. Visible. Deliberate. A senior counselor spoke first. The presence of a human so close to the throne has divided our people, he said. Symbols inspire loyalty, or rebellion. Another followed. We must decide whether this connection represents weakness, or evolution. The word connection echoed louder than any accusation. The Queen finally spoke. You fear that I changed, she said. You are correct. A ripple passed through the chamber. I have ruled through distance, she continued. Through certainty. Through solitude. It brought us survival, but not peace. She gestured toward me, not dramatically. Honestly. This human did not advise me. Did not influence policy. He reminded me that leadership without rest becomes tyranny. A general stood. Then choose, my queen. The throne, or this risk. The chamber went still. History balanced on a breath. The Queen looked down at me, not seeking permission, not asking reassurance. Simply acknowledging consequence. You will leave the palace tonight, she said. My chest tightened, but I nodded. Understood. Gasps followed. She raised her voice. Not in exile. Not in disgrace. She turned back to the council. He will return to his people as an envoy, protected, equal, and heard. Not because he stayed, but because I did. The chamber erupted. Anger. Fear. Hope. As guards escorted me out, not roughly, not gently, I realized something powerful. She hadn't chosen me over the throne. She had chosen a future that didn't require choosing. Behind me, the doors closed on the loudest moment of her reign. Ahead of me waited uncertainty, fragile alliances, and a galaxy watching what humanity would do next. And far above the noise, I knew this wasn't an ending. It was the moment before everything changed. I left the palace before dawn. No ceremony. No speeches. Just a single vessel waiting at the edge of the capital's sky, its engines humming softly. Officially, I was an envoy. Unofficially, I was a question the galaxy couldn't ignore. News spread faster than my ship ever could. A human granted equal voice. An alien empire choosing trust over tradition. The Queen who ruled without standing alone. Some systems mocked it. Others feared it. A few, quietly, copied it. My first negotiations were tense. Not because of threats, but because expectations had shifted. I wasn't there to beg for survival or prove humanity's worth through strength. I was there to listen. To stay present. To do what I had done from the beginning. And it worked. Trade replaced blockades. Talks replaced ultimatums. Not everywhere, but enough. Months later, a message arrived on a private channel. No seal. No formality. I slept again, the Queen wrote. No dreams of war. I stared at the stars outside my cabin window and smiled. Humanity didn't win the galaxy by force. We didn't conquer empires or bend queens to our will. We did something far more dangerous. We reminded the universe that power does not have to mean isolation. That leadership can breathe. That even those who carry worlds deserve rest. Long after treaties were signed and borders redrawn, historians would argue about when the galaxy truly changed. Some would point to the convocation. Some to the first alliance. But I would remember something simpler. I fell asleep alone. I woke up holding the alien queen. And together, without planning it, we taught the stars how to be less afraid of each other.